In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you, just for you. In the morning sun where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello.
everyone. Sorry we're running a little bit late today. Welcome to our live Q&A. We do this every Monday, and it is a place where you can come with all your gardening questions, all your plant questions, anything that you've been having troubles with, that you're curious about, that you just want to learn more. And all you need to do is comment it below and we're going to answer it live here. So any questions you have, comment it now. We'll answer it in live time. And we do it in chronological order, so I scroll in the way the comments come up. So if you want to get your question answered, you gotta get in pretty quickly. Sometimes we don't have always the time to answer all of the questions, unfortunately. So we run this for around 30 minutes. So yeah, excited to answer all your questions. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great.
Amazing, yep. So anything that you're wondering, just comment it below. Let me see what the first question is. All right, there it is. All right, got a question from Ken. I was wondering, how can I keep the coral bark Japanese maple to 4 to 5 meters in height, and what is the closest distance I can't plant them from the house?
Okay, so distance from the house, I think that Japanese maples have the least defensive root system of any tree, and I'd happily plant one within 1 metre or 1.5 metres of the house. So that you could go quite close to the house, and then what you find is that your Japanese maples tend to fork nicely, and what I'd do is I'd sort of cut into once you get up around 3.5 metres in height, I'd start just trimming them once each year, and a good time to do it would be just at the end of winter, so that you get the effect of the beautiful coral bark. Like the coral bark maple is the one with the fabulous red stems. So you keep that look right through the winter, and then just as the buds start to swell in springtime, go over and sort of cut them, and don't sort of shear them off, but cut into the V's. So cut down a bit and leave some nice twiggy branches on the end, and you'll still have lots of nice foliage. And and an annual trim from 3.5 metres, just cutting sort of down into where the branches are V'd like that, and sort of taking the longer one out of the middle of the V, and keep working them down every year, you'll be able to keep it in that sort of 4 to 5 metre range, no problems.
Awesome. Next question is from Grace. Hi, I've recently planted bare-rooted mop tops, planted with booster pellets, fresh soil, and topped with fertilizer. How often should I water, and how do I make sure they have the best chance to take?
Okay, so you should be seeing my ones. I've still got a few bare roots left, and I'll have them here for the next couple of weeks. But I've noticed that this morning I looked at them and they got a nice little bit of bud swell on them all, and so I'd been wanting to see a bit of bud swell on yours now. So have a look and make sure you've got a bit of bud swell. And if you've got a bit of bud swell, and you've got that, you're in an area where we're getting nice rain once or twice a week, I don't think you'd be watering them for another month or 6 weeks, and then you'd start giving them a really good soak once a week, and then in the crazy hot weather you give them 2 good soaks a week, and that should keep them going. But make sure it's a good deep soak, and if you want them to really grow nicely, keep on fertilising them. And also the other thing, if it's got a long shaggy top on it, I reckon the best time to prune a mop top is just when those new shoots are coming. So as you see your new shoots, you might give it a little trim on top.
Great. All right, next question. They're saying they're Sydney based. Would you still help design their garden?
Yeah, sure. We do Zoom garden designs for people in Sydney, no problem.
Yeah, perfect.
Do one quite often.
Easily. So yeah, just head on over to our website and you can book that there, and obviously just
book a Zoom, and all the areas that you want to cover in that, make sure you give me photos of that, because I need a drawing or a site plan is great, and plenty of photos, because the more you give me to work with, or actually some people send me like 87 photos, and that's a bit much because I can't look at them all. But if you just photograph each area that you need to do and give me a good lot of photos, maybe a diagram or a plan, a street view is great, but so if you put as much stuff together as you can without going overboard, that really helps me to, and it doesn't matter whether you're in Sydney or Melbourne, that's what I like to see, is enough information to really make judgments and make a good design. So, and sometimes people send me one photo and I really struggle to do the design.
Yeah, more is always better. Next question is from Trevor. Hi, I'm after caladium bulbs, giant elephant ears. Do you sell them?
What type of bulb is it?
Caladium, giant elephant ears.
Giant elephant ears. Giant elephants. No, we sell them as a potted plant. So not as a bulb. It's funny, I've been in America and I've seen them sold as bulbs, but I've never seen them sold as bulbs in Australia. You could try somebody like a bulb specialist, which would be, I think, Blue Dandenong Bulb Farm would be the sort of, if I wanted to buy something like that as a bulb, I'd go to a specialist like the Blue Dandenong Bulb Farm, or possibly Tesla but we sell them just here as a potted plant.
Yeah, great. Next question from Ken's Curls. So just following up about the question about the coral bark Japanese maple. Natchez crepe myrtle, are they bigger than coral bark Japanese maple? They were tossing up between the crepe myrtle and the Japanese maple.
Okay, Natchez is bigger than your Senkaki. Not a lot, but it's a little bit bigger. But Natchez are very easy to prune, and they love a real hard prune. So it's very easy to keep you. And the more you prune them, the bigger the flowers you get, and the more luxurious the foliage. So hard pruning really works on a Natchez. So although it's a bigger, faster tree, it's probably easier to keep smaller than your coral bark maple.
And how close can you plant the Natchez crepe myrtle? I assume like to the house.
I'd want to keep it 2 or 3 meters away, because it is a bigger, more aggressive tree with a more aggressive root system.
Yep. And just asking, is it the same trick to keep it small as it was with the coral bark maple?
No, you'd hit your Natchez a lot harder. I photographed how to prune for a customer the other day, and really the well pruned ones really look a bit like skeletons. Like after a good prune, your crepe myrtle, there's not that much of it, but then they shoot back to life. They grow very vigorously and flower beautifully.
Yeah.
So you could, but they're easier to prune, and will take harder pruning.
Yeah. Next question from Danny. Do you sell Tamarillo plants?
I haven't seen any in the store for a little while. They're more of a warm weather, but what we'll do is we'll check our supplier, and we'll grab Danny's, and we'll check our supplier, and we'll let Danny know if we can get them at the moment, because it'd be interesting. I haven't seen them in the store since last autumn, actually.
Yeah. All right, next question is from Mrs. Doubtfire. Can you tell me how I should prune my Stella cherry tree and my Lisbon lemon tree?
Right, okay, so Lisbon lemon, the main thing with your Lisbon lemon is that they're a very vigorous grower, and they'll shoot up to 4 or 5 meters, and it'll be a bit hard to access those lemons. So the main thing I'd be doing with your Lisbon lemon is taking the top out of it and getting it to spread more sideways. So take those big sort of vertical shoots and halve them, and depending on what age it is, but basically take some of that vertical shoot and encourage sort of sideways growth. And then with your cherry, what you're looking to do, often when you get a young cherry, you'll just have a single straight stem on it. And what you do is chop that off and encourage, and what you want to do is sort of get it into a nice sort of open vase shape and open in the middle. That's what you want with your cherry. So cutting and opening, and then even when you're cutting the side branches, you cut them to an outward shoot and try and get them to spread out sideways like that.
Amazing.
Because what you'll see when you look at your shoots on your deciduous tree, you'll see that there'll be buds on both sides of the tree, and normally they're opposite each other and slightly apart. So the bud that you cut to, if you cut to an inward bud, the shoot will come inwards, and if you cut to an outward bud, the shoot will go outwards. So you can actually steer your tree by cutting to the right bud.
Amazing. All right, and then we have. Sorry, I'm just trying to check to see. I think that we're not on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, we are. I'll have to read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, next question then is from Jeremy. Any recommendations of how to recover outdoor ficus from frost over the winter?
Right, really there's not a lot you can do. If it's been frosted really, really badly, it'll be dead. I photographed or videoed some in Romsey that were just dead from the frost, dead all over. But around Melbourne, what'll happen, and actually I'll talk about the frost a little bit more with the ficus, but what'll happen mostly around Melbourne, the frost, if you had a fairly well established one, you ended up with a black or a brown patch on the top of your ficus, and what'll happen is just beneath that black area, shoots will come as the weather warms up, And then once you see the little shoots coming, then I would just trim off the ugly old dead black material and let those shoots come and take over. And plenty of water and a little bit of regular fertilising will have them looking lush and beautiful in no time. And hopefully next winter won't be so cold and you won't have that problem again. But what I was going to say, what a lot of people don't know, is that the main ficus everybody plants now is Ficus flash. And the old-fashioned, years ago, everybody planted Ficus hilli. And Ficus hilli has a longer, narrower leaf, a bright white trunk, and dense sort of cascading kind of foliage. Now with your Ficus hilli, you will find that to be more frost hardy. And I got that from a person like up in Mildura, frost get down around -4. And one of my customers in Mildura explained to me that they had hilli and flash, and they'd found that hilli, once established, was virtually frostproof in that Mildura climate. So if you want to avoid frost damage, go for your Ficus hilli. And we sell Ficus hilli here, not as much as Ficus flash. And I actually think, although Ficus hilli is a little bit slower growing, I think it's actually a prettier tree. And if you're in a frosty area and you don't like that black top on your ficus, then consider planting Ficus hilli.
Yep, great. Next question is from Mikey. Is it safe to leave dwarf citrus trees in the plastic nursery pots read somewhere that it can burn the roots on especially hot days?
I've never seen anything like that. And particularly if they're well watered, it shouldn't be a problem. And what you could do is put them in a saucer. I think the problem you could have with ficus in a pot is too small a pot. And I'd be generous with the pot size. Use really nice quality potting mix, and you'll find that they really respond well to a bit of Osmocote. Osmocote seems to really work well with citrus. And there is actually a citrus Osmocote, but even your all-purpose Osmocote will work on your citrus fine.
Yeah. And Ryan wants to know, is it hard to grow passion fruit plants in Melbourne?
No, I've seen fabulous passion fruit plants in Melbourne. But is it hard? Yes and no. What the secret is fabulous soil. They need fabulous soil, and I think a nice, warm, sunny spot. But they love compost. They love loose soil. So a lot of Melbourne is sort of hard clay or gutless sand or something like that. So really making a mound of beautiful soil for them to grow in, and picking a nice sunny spot, a little bit sheltered from the wind, so sort of not too exposed and open and windy, but nice and sunny, but with a fabulous mound of really rich soil, they'll go berserk in Melbourne.
Yeah. Next question is from Mitch. What are great plants for narrow planter boxes in southeast Queensland? Saw a video you did but can't find it again.
Oh, right, okay. So narrow planter boxes in southeast Queensland. So
Would that be like the Caprosma Pacific sunset that we did maybe?
Yeah, that could be. That was a very narrow planting. In southeastern Queensland, it depends how tall you want to grow, but orange jessamine really does good in Queensland. And that could be grown in quite a narrow box and can be clipped and kept quite small. But if you wanted something smaller than that, something like your stripy white liriope could look really good. You know, like that up there in Queensland, it grows up about that tall, and that could look really, really nice. And something that is quite popular up there on the Gold Coast now is that fire sticks. And fire sticks, if you're doing something very sort of modern, fire sticks mixed with something like a chalk stick, which is sort of silver blue, and then your fire sticks, which are sort of reds and oranges and greens, could work together in a narrow box and be really hardy and easy to look after. So that's a few ideas for you.
Great. Next question is from Mahesh Ann. Which would be the better climber rose, Blue Moon or Crespicule?
Look, that's an interesting question. Blue Moon, beautiful fragrance, lovely climbing rose, but it really doesn't hold a candle to Crepuscule. Crepuscule is fabulous, and the reason why Crepuscule is so fabulous is that there's very few thorns, and with a climber, thorns become less attractive because you've got a great big bush to deal with. So very few thorns, fast growing, and then in most areas of Melbourne, it's pretty much evergreen, so it'll have leaves on it all year, and then it almost seems to flower 365 days a year. Now, sometimes you'll have just a few flowers, and other times you'll have lots of flowers, And then the colour of crepuscule, I think, is exquisite. It's hard to describe. It's got a little. People should Google and have a look at. It's called crepuscule, and crepuscule actually means shades of night. So it's sort of like, it's like a setting sun kind of a colour. The evening. It's sort of crepuscule means not shades of night. Sort of the evening, the shades of evening as it's getting dark. And how colours look more interesting at that time. Well, it has a really interesting colour with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of pink, and sort of orangey harmonies of yellow and pink all in the one flower. And it really is a very exquisite and interesting colour, well worth a quick little Google. And crepuscule, because it's such a ferocious grower, it's great to grow over an archway or covering a veranda or on a trellis covering a whole wall. In my garden designs, it's probably my favourite climbing rose.
Yeah, in the situation they want to cover the pergola, which is 2.4 metres in height.
Yeah, crepuscule, fantastic. Okay. And looks much better in the winter than almost any other climbing rose.
Great. And then next question is, what is the best time to repot a 3-year-old olive tree?
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Look, I think if it needs repotting, do it right now. Olive trees, if they get a bit sad in the pot, it's because olive trees really need lots and lots of calcium to look great. And so whether you're repotting or not, I'd be putting a nice big cupped handful of dolomite lime on the top of my olive at least once a year to keep it green and lush. And that will reduce the need for repotting if you keep that calcium up to it. But repot it and be generous, give it a nice big pot and it'll keep on growing, and then keep on putting the dolomite lime, whether you're repotting or just keeping it in the same pot. And dolomite lime, say combined with Osmocote, would work really well for you.
Yeah. Great. Next question is from B. Thomas. Advice on agapanthus, they have ruined my retaining wall.
Get rid of them. And actually I discovered how to get, like, some people they try and dig up their agapanthus and then they give up because it's pretty hard. But what I found is that if you dig around the edges of your agapanthus, then you get a sharp crowbar with a sort of crowbar that's got a sharp point on it, and you stab into the middle of it and then wobble it backwards and forwards. You seem to be able to leverage against them and pull them apart and the whole clump starts to come apart. So that can be a really good way of getting rid of them. And agapanthus are big, aggressive growers, and they look great sort of up a farm driveway or something like that. But in most suburban gardens, I don't think they're an appropriate plant.
Yeah. So Zachary.
But on the flip side, dwarf agapanthus are wonderful in most suburban gardens. And they're beautiful. Some of them have lovely foliages, and many of them have really beautiful flowers too. So, and I love some of the white ones, but even some of the blue ones are great. So dwarf agapanthus for the suburban garden, great. The big old agapanthus, put them out on your country property, and even then, sometimes you see millions of them on a country property, and it's not that good.
Yeah.
And actually, another thought about agapanthus is that if you want something that I think in many ways is better than agapanthus, it's your Dioides grandiflora. And the reason I like Dioides grandiflora better than I like agapanthus, say on a country property for a mass planting, is that your Dioides grandiflora starts flowering about now and keeps on flowering off and on right through to about May. So it's much longer flowering than your agapanthus, and I think the foliage is more attractive when it's not flowering. So I would consider, and it's just as hardy as agapanthus. So Dioides grandiflora in many ways is better than agapanthus. And I guess since I've sort of started using Dioides grandiflora on some of the sort of bigger rural kind of jobs, I've really cut back on my use of agapanthus. Although there's one place, there's the olive farm, it's a reception centre just on the way into Shepparton there, and they've got a massive planting of big white agapanthus, and nothing looks better than that place does in summer. And I think that's important. Like if you do white agapanthus or blue agapanthus, it looks so much better than mixed agapanthus. So anyway, that's my quick thoughts on agapanthus.
Great. All right, Zachary says he's been enjoying hedge content, but does the maidenhair hedge need a fence to grow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next.
and it doesn't need much of a fence. You could throw up the most rubbishy wire fence and cover it with your maidenhair. your maidenhair creeper very, very quickly, and nobody would be the wiser, not why I said wire, but no one would be the wiser that it was just a rubbish old fence underneath, but it does need something to hold it up. But once it's up there and going, it'll tend to hold itself, but it'll need the wire fence to get it up there. So you don't have to do a very flash or expensive wire fence to hold up your maidenhair fern creeper.
Yep. And Tally also saw our video on Goldilocks wattle. Do we recommend this tree in the Brisbane climate?
I reckon you would get away with it. It would be a little bit risky, a little bit experimental, but I would give it a go. I'd say that naturally it grows in southern New South Wales, which really isn't that far, and a lot of plants do have quite a bit of adaptability. And I think the main thing would be not to put it in a well-drained spot. Like it would be, all of your acacias are quite sensitive to wet feet. So don't put it in a spot that's going to become waterlogged in the wet season. Put it in a well-drained spot, and I think you might get away with it, but consider it a slightly experimental thing to do.
Yeah. And then we got a question from Sally Ann. One of my Aspalia camellias have brown spot leaves and looks like it's dying. I've removed damaged leaves, but it still looks sick. It's located in the south side of the house, gets mostly shade. What now?
My question on a thing like that is, when did it start to look sick? If it started to look sick in summer, it might be lack of water and fertilizer. If it started to look sick in the middle of winter, it could be poor drainage. So I'd be saying, started to go off a bit, in February, March. I'd say maybe a little bit dry and a little bit hungry. Started to go off in August. I'd be looking, it would look fabulous right into the winter, then start to go off in August. I'd be having a dig there and seeing if we had a bit of wet feet going on.
Yeah. And then the Maria, so they would like to repot a Chinese wisteria into the ground, perhaps training it to grow onto the brick fence. If I repot it into the ground next to a gum tree, will it grow up the gum tree? And they are based in Sydney.
Okay, what it is, gum trees are very difficult to establish a new plant around, because gum trees are fantastic at sucking up all the water and nutrients in their area. So you might have to deposit some more soil there to grow it, and then you might have to use plenty of fertilizer and plenty of water to get it going. But and also it would need at least half a day of sunshine. So consider how you place it to get a minimum half-day sun. Add some more soil if the ground's all bound up with roots. Add a little amount of soil to grow and give your wisteria a good start. Then plenty of water, plenty of fertilizer. And wisterias love a bit of lime too. They're a legume, but give it, so water, fertilizer, a bit of good soil, and some sunshine, and you might just get away with it. But gum trees aren't a great thing to establish anything near, but it can be done.
Yeah. And then just going back to the camellia question from Sally Ann, she says it was the middle of a winter that did it.
Middle of winter, I'd be looking for wet feet.
Yeah.
It won't be dryness that did it in winter, so I'd be having a dig there and trying to work out if there's a drainage problem, and if so, trying to correct that drainage problem.
Cool. And then question from Ken's Curls, can I put the coral bark Japanese maple in western sun? I read that it's okay as long as I kept it watered in summer.
Yeah, and I think the real key, where people go wrong, particularly in Melbourne, is a lot of Melbourne's heavy clay, as I said before, and what they do is they dig a tiny little hole, they poke the tree in, and with your Japanese maples, what's great about Japanese maples is they don't have aggressive roots, so that's why I said a person could plant it quite close to their house, but not having aggressive roots in a little tiny hole full of hard clay, the roots can't spread, and so the tree's just bound in. It's just sort of bound in there, the roots can't spread, and then a hot sunny day comes and it hasn't got a nice spread of roots. So what I encourage my customers to do is to dig a really big hole, as big a hole as they can for the Japanese maple, as wide as they can, as deep as they can, and then to mix beautiful potting mix all through that hole, then plant the maple up high in the hole with a loose mix, not just all potting mix, but 50-50 your mix, your soil and our mix, all 50-50, plenty of Osmocote, up nice and high, maybe even a little bit of soil wetter, and then when that hot windy, and then the roots will spread easily and quickly through that, and when your hot windy day comes in the middle of summer and it's a day that would normally kill a not properly planted maple, your maple will be able to draw up plenty of moisture over its wide area and deep area where it's got its roots out, and they'll take a lot of heat and wind with moisture in a proper hole.
Yeah. Nathan would like to know, what is your thoughts on using a soil probiotic like Populate?
I've not used that product, but the idea, the idea has been around for many, many years, and it'd be good to try it, and it'd be good to try it and judge it against something else. And particularly with the right fertilizer and compost, so if you've got the right organic material in there. But basically, a lot of plants are not able to draw nutrients directly from the ground. They draw their nutrients from nutrients that have been released by microorganisms. So microorganisms can add more fertility to your soil than what fertilizer can, and then a combination of good fertilizer, compost and things like that combined with microorganisms can create extremely fertile soil. So it's a great idea, and as long as that particular one is a good product, and you could test it, you do a little test of plants with it and plants without it and see how you go. But I imagine that with something like that, you maybe wouldn't do quite as well in a potting mix as you could as in a well turned over garden bed. I think that would give it all of the right micronutrients.
Yeah. Next question is, when should I prune/hedge Photinia?
Photinia really, right throughout Melbourne and even in the country regions, Photinia is on the move. And probably if your hedge is all shaggy and messed up, I'd get in and do it now. But ideally, you'd have got stuck into it about 4 or 5 weeks ago before they started to grow, and get that basic shape in place so that the new growth occurs where you want it. So basically, I would do it. If you didn't really need to do it, I wouldn't do it now. I'd wait till after it finished growing. But that's if you don't really need. But if you've got a really big shaggy hedge, you could whip into it now, and it'll sort of shoot back a bit later. So ideally, you'd go back 6 weeks earlier than now, and you would you'd cut nice and hard, and you'd be getting all your new growth in just the right spot right now.
Yep. And then Ron would like to know, are Howie palms hardy plants? I am planting in Victoria.
Lord Howe Island palm, is it?
The Howie palm.
Howie, yeah.
Howie, H-O-W-E-A.
H-O-W-E.
I'm not sure if it's, I can have a look.
Let's go on to the next question. You could look up that Howie palm. I don't know it that well under that name.
Susie would like to grow trees that won't attract...
Kentia, so it's Howia, yeah, so it's Kentia. So Kentia is a good hardy palm, but it comes from jungle country, and it needs to be grown in the shade. So I've had them outdoors in Melbourne for years, but under shade, like under shade cloth. So perhaps you can grow them in your alfresco. They like a bit of humidity, a bit of shade. Not too much hot sun, so yeah, they're good hardy palms, but not out in the hot sun.
Yep. All right. I'm only going to ask 3 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up for today's live. As always, if we didn't get to your question today, you're welcome to come to our live next week. We do it every Monday, 12 p.m. If it is anything urgent, please feel free to call us, email us, come in store, anything like that. Unfortunately, we just don't. I mean, we'd love to spend hours here, but Chris is a busy man and has a lot of things to do. So last 3 questions. All right, third last one is Susie. They would like to grow trees that won't attract flying foxes, big shade tree, what's best, and they don't want any fruit or flowers.
Right, okay. So no fruit or flowers, big shade tree, no fruit or flowers. Whereabouts do they live?
Whereabouts do you live, Susie, if you just want to comment it below. While you comment that, let's ask another question from Joy. Can I grow Yoshino cherry tree in the eastern part of my garden in Melbourne?
Yeah, that'll grow beautifully.
Yep.
Make sure it's got a bit of sun, at least half a day's sun, and you'll be in business.
Cool. All right. Just seeing if Susie has commented yet. Scenic Rim west of Ipswich, Queensland.
Ipswich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. East of Ipswich, right. So
no fruit, no flower,
no
big
fruit,
shade
no
tree,
flower.
no flying foxes.
No flying foxes. a tough one. It's hard to get a tree with no fruit, no flower, but I was thinking that something like it has occasional small flowers, and a water gum luscious is a really hardy, fast-growing tree that produces seeds but no fruit, and produces the odd little yellow flower, but lovely big green lush foliage, and I'm sure there's nothing there that a flying fox would want to eat, so it would not attract your flying foxes.
Great. And Mia would just like to say what a fountain of knowledge you are, Chris, which is
thank
very
you very
true.
much. Thank you.
All right. Last question for today is, let me have a look. Let's go from Charlotte. Are you able to plant tomato seedlings next to gladioli bulbs? Gladioli.
Yeah, I can't see why not. Not too close to give the gladiolas room to do their thing, but yeah, that should be fine.
Yep. All right. Perfect. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up there today. Sorry, anyone whose question we didn't get to. Like I mentioned before, you're more than welcome to email us or call us or come in store and ask any questions of the staff or of Chris. Thank you everyone for coming. We would really appreciate it if you let more people know about our lives, because we really want to make gardening accessible for everyone. We're trying to build a whole kind of community of gardeners, and you can help us with that. So yeah, if there's anyone in your life who is getting into gardening or wants to, let them know about these lives and we can help more people. So yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.